Welcome to the Musar Torah podcast for Parshas Chayei. Join us as we explore the weekly Parsha, uncovering valuable insights and striving to become the best versions of ourselves through Musar teachings. This week's Parsha opens with the death of Sarah and Avraham's need to find a burial place for her. There's something profound that Rashi points out right at the beginning. He connects the end of last week's Parsha, the Akeidah, with the beginning of this week's Parsha, Sarah's death. Sarah's death, Rashi tells us, was directly caused by the shock of discovering that her son Yitzchak was on an altar moments away from being sacrificed. The proximity isn't just literary, it's causal. This connection sets the stage for what might be Avraham's most difficult test of all. According to most Rishonim, the Akeidah was Avraham's 10th and final test. After binding Yitzchak on the altar, Hashem declares, "Now I know that you fear Hashem." Case closed, right? 10 tests completed, mission accomplished. Here's where it gets interesting. Rabbeinu Yonah in Pirkei Avos, I believe it's Perek Hey Mishnah Gimel, reveals something remarkable. There was actually one more test, an 11th test that often gets overlooked. What was this final test? Burying Sarah. Now you might be thinking, wait, how is burying his wife a test comparable to nearly sacrificing his son? Stay with me here, because Rav Shalom Rosner Shlita, in his Sefer Shalom Rav, directs us to an insight from Rav Eliyahu Dessler Zeichel Livracha that completely reframes how we should think about spiritual greatness. Rav Dessler teaches us, and this is crucial, that we first need to fix our middos, our character traits, and only then can the Torah properly rest on us. Think of it like this. If someone learns tons of Torah but doesn't work on their character, their Torah becomes twisted and warped. Why? Because there is no proper vessel to hold it in. The Torah needs a proper receptacle, and that receptacle is refined character. Without proper middos, even the most brilliant Torah knowledge becomes distorted. The way to truly excel in Torah, Rav Dessler tells us, is only through proper middos. This is how we understand which was truly Avraham's greatest test. Let's put ourselves into Avraham's sandals for a moment. This man spent 3 days traveling with unbearable knowledge that he was going to sacrifice his beloved son, the son he waited 100 years for, the son through whom all of Hashem's promises would be fulfilled. He gets to Har HaMoriah, he builds an altar, he arranges the wood, he ties Yitzchak down. He raises the knife, tears streaming down from his face, and then, stop! A malach intervenes at the last possible second. The emotional whiplash alone would level most people. The relief, the trauma, the spiritual high of passing this ultimate test, all swirling together in an overwhelming emotional storm. He travels back home, probably still processing what happened, only to discover that while he was away following Hashem's command, his wife of over a century, his partner, Sarah, has died. Here's the part that would crush anyone. She died from the shock of hearing about the near sacrifice. Can you imagine the guilt that must have washed over Avraham? If I hadn't listened to Hashem's command, if I had been here, if I had found a way to tell her differently, maybe she'd still be alive. The real test begins now, when Avraham is emotionally shattered, physically exhausted, and drowning in grief. Now comes what Rabbeinu Yonah identifies as his final test. He needs to find a burial place for Sarah. Enter Efron the Hittite, and oh boy, if you've ever dealt with someone who pretends to be helpful but is actually just trying to take advantage of you, you know this type of character. At first, Efron puts on a great show in front of everyone. "Oh my lord, listen to me. The field, I give you. The cave that's in it, I give it to you. In front of all my people, I give it to you." He sounds really generous, right? When it comes down to the time to actually close the deal, suddenly there's a price. It's not just any price, 400 silver shekel, an astronomical sum. The Talmud tells us this wasn't even regular currency. It was over l'socher, premium merchant's currency, the highest quality silver available. Now imagine you're Avraham. You're grieving. You're exhausted. You're possibly feeling guilty. And this man is clearly taking advantage of your desperate situation. How would you react? Here's where we see Avraham's true greatness. Despite everything, the emotional trauma, the grief, the guilt, the manipulation, Avraham's middos remain exemplary. He doesn't snap at Efron. He doesn't let his personal tragedy become an excuse for rudeness. He doesn't take out his pain on the people around him. He maintains his dignity, his composure, and most importantly, his character. The Torah tells us that Avraham listened to Efron and paid the full amount without complaint, without bitterness, without letting his terrible circumstances affect how he would treat others. This brings us to perhaps the most powerful lesson of this entire parsha, and it's something we need to hear every single day. There's a beautiful concept that emerges from this story. Our face is a reshus harabim, a public domain. Just like we are not allowed to put a stumbling block in a public space where someone might trip, we cannot let our mood, our personal struggles, become a stumbling block for others. When you walk around with a scowl because you're having a tough day, when you're short with the cashier because you are stressed, when you snap at your family because work was difficult, you are essentially placing obstacles in the public thoroughfare. Think about that for a moment. Your facial expression, your demeanor, your energy, these aren't just personal. They are public. They affect everyone around you. They can lift people up or bring them down. They can make someone's day better or worse. Avraham understood this at the deepest level. Even in his darkest hour, he refused to let his personal pain become public poison. We learn from Avraham Avinu that being a ben or bas Torah isn't just about how much we learn or how carefully we keep the mitzvos. It's about maintaining our character, even when we have every excuse not to. Just because we are having a bad day doesn't give us the right to spread that negativity to others. Our personal struggles don't give us a license to be rude, impatient, or unkind. Think about your own life for a moment. How often do we use our circumstances as an excuse for the poor behavior? Sorry I snapped at you. I'm just stressed about work. I know I was rude, but I had such a terrible morning. I didn't mean to ignore you. I'm just dealing with a lot right now. Avraham teaches us that true spiritual greatness isn't demonstrated in the dramatic moments on the mountaintops. It's revealed in how we handle the valleys, the everyday interactions, when we are not tired, stressed, or grieving. It's about maintaining our middos when we have every reason to let them slip. Here is something practical we can all work on this week. When we are having a difficult day, when we are stressed or upset or frustrated, pause before your next interaction with another person. Take a breath and remind yourself, my face is a reshus harabim. My mood is not their burden to carry. Try to greet the next person you encounter with the same courtesy you would show on your best day, not because you feel like it, but because that's what it means to have refined middos. That's what it means to be a student of Avraham Avinu. As we go through our week, let's carry this message with us. Before we pour more Torah into our vessels, let's make sure these vessels, our middos, are strong enough and pure enough to hold it properly. Remember, your struggles are real, your pain is valid, and your challenges matter, but they are ours to carry, not to impose on others. When we choose to treat people with kindness, despite our difficulties, we are walking in the footsteps of Avraham Avinu himself. The real test isn't the Akeidah on the mountaintop. It's negotiation with Efron in the valley, because that is where most of life happens, in the valley, in the everyday interactions, in the moments when nobody is watching except for the one who is always watching. May we all merit to develop middos that can withstand life's challenges, and may we never let our bad days become someone else's stumbling block. Thank you for joining us today on the Musar Torah podcast. Until next time, remember, true greatness isn't just about rising to dramatic occasions. It's about maintaining our character on the ordinary, difficult days. Have a good Shabbos.